Don Juan, $5. Do you guys think in the future men will revolt because of men not getting any in the future? Now it's 1/3, but later it'll be 89% French Revolution.
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's interesting to make that correlation to the French Revolution. Do you guys understand
I didn't know that the French Revolution was like that.
No, it wasn't because of pussy. That wasn't why.
Oh.
Do you guys understand why the French Revolution happened?
No, I don't.
Okay, so what happened is once we got into the idea of lending credit, this is something that was uniquely
I did hear about
a Christian idea, but in Islam, not so much. So what happened was all these different countries, they started loaning, the actual crown started borrowing money from individual citizens. There were two countries that always paid their debt, and it was the Dutch and the Brits. They always paid their debts, and they became the two wealthiest countries in the world because they paid their debts, because everyone wanted to do business in those two countries. The country that was notorious for running up debts, and then if you said, hey, we want you to pay our debts, they'd cut your head off, was the French. And they kept doing it to the point where they couldn't borrow money anymore, and merchants actually avoided France for a while, and it caused massive amounts of inflation of their currency. And then they eventually got to the point where where just buying a loaf of bread was too expensive, and then the entire they had no choice but to revolt. The guillotine was literally created so that they could just cut people's heads off, hundreds a day. Anyone who was part of the government at that time. And then throughout that chaos, Napoleon Bonaparte emerged. He was a lieutenant in the Army Artillery. I think that's where he was when he first came on the scene. But yeah, that's essentially how it happened. You don't pay your debts. That's what happens.
I don't know if that's going to happen here because men can't get any though.
No. So yeah, back to answer your question. No, we're gonna fuck robots. I'm 100%.
Yeah,
sure.
it's
I'm
coming
100%
very
sure we're
soon.
gonna fuck robots.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not even kidding.
I think guys like right now are losing really hard, but if we look in the next 10 to 20 years with technology, guys are going to be winning whenever we get the robots. The girls are going to be losing in those cases. I feel like it's going to be the women.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. I still because I really enjoy having sex with women, but the thing I would say is, no, you're right. Once the men find it viable to start having alternate things to have sex with, then I do think that it's going to be
karma's a bitch. It's going to come back and bite the women in the ass. What happened?
You think that'll lead to the destruction of certain populations like the Japanese who are already on a decline?
So do you
really think that the Japanese care about this decline that they're having?
I don't know about their feelings or not, but I'm just wondering, you think the robots would increase that even further?
No, this is really interesting because there's a difference between population decline and demographic collapse, right? Because what Nick Fuentes and fucking Elon Musk are talking about is demographic collapse, but they're saying population collapse. So the thing is, with Japan, I think Japan basically got to, a guy who
Isn't it more geographic collapse though?
No. Here's the thing. I'm just talking specifically about Japan. Japan was competing with America, and in doing so, they ran their people into the fucking ground, and things got too expensive. In Japan, Tokyo became just not a great place to live. And I think somewhere in the ethos of that country, they came to the point where it was we don't need to be competing like this anymore. Let's chill. Let's back off. And in doing so, they realized any point you're standing on the Japanese islands, you're 75 miles away from the ocean, no matter where you are. That's how small those islands are. If you're there and you understand that, you get to the point where it's do we really, if I have $50 million and my friends are billionaires, at some point, is it okay to have $50 billion? I think that's what Japan is like. They're we're going to have population collapse. We're also the third largest economy in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I think what's happened, this whole thing where we keep using Japan's population collapse as this experiment, I think the people who live there are if half these people went away, we'd be fine. If you've ever walked through Tokyo, you're man, this is fucking crazy. How much is it for me to rent an apartment? $15,000 a month for a one bedroom? What the fuck is? No, I think the population decline in Japan and also the economic decline in Japan is actually on purpose. That's just my theory.
Now, do you think it's going to get even more when they have these sex robots?
So here's the thing. The population decline in the other places. So the main concern for Elon Musk is middle class white Americans, right? That's the main thing. It's
I'm not worried about here. I'm worried about more homogenous societies.
Oh, I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 400,000 elephants. I just don't. If there's 4 billion people on this planet, we're still fine. I just don't really think it's that big of a deal.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the entire human civilization. I'm talking about specific ones like Japan. Because now,
but that's not what Elon Musk is worried about.
I'm not really sure what he's talking about. I'm specifically talking about this question.
So what he thinks is educated people in the U.S. are being outbred by people he thinks to not be educated. Does that make sense?
Like idiocracy?
It's turning
America,
into idiocracy.
That's not going to be an issue because we're more heterogeneous when it comes to income, different socioeconomic status, multiple ethnicities. I'm talking about more homogenous societies. I think these sex robots are going to make it much more difficult. I think the population is going to even decline.
Yeah, but if the population declines in China, China's still
China's different than Japan.
Yeah, it's still, but China's different from Japan, but Japan's still overpopulated. If you're there, it's still overpopulated.
Well, I mean, only 25% of the population live in Tokyo. The other 75% is I live in Japan for 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. It's not as if like they're all like anywhere in Japan, the island you're just going to bump into people. It's really just like Tokyo. That's like they go to like Shibuya area. It's like that. But like you come outside, there's a ton of land out there. Yeah. But just like their youth are just not as interested in like, just having sex, getting married, having kids. And on top of that, when these sex robots come out, if you're a guy, you're already struggling with women in society like that, you're just going to
They already have those little anime toys.
Yeah, now imagine if it be actually like a live
anime girl.
What they're going to have in 30 years from now. Yeah. Like at that point, you're just going to be like, well, fuck this.
Could that cause yes, the answer is yes, that could cause population collapse for sure.
I don't think it will happen here.
I think there's two different things we're talking about. We're talking about men not getting any sex and women choosing to have children later and women not having babies versus a sex robot, in which case there is no copulation whatsoever. Those are two different. This is like the level 5, and this is like right curves while level 10 extreme example. I think there's two different things we're talking about. For this one right here, I would just like to point out with the whole demographic collapse thing. Where's Elon Musk from again?
South Africa.
South Africa. Interesting. Can anybody think of an example of a country where you had one population that was a minority and another population that was a majority, and the one population that was a minority was trying to have babies as fast as they could because they were being outpopulated by the other one? Can anyone think of a country where that was happening?
That happened there with white people?
That is what apartheid was about. Yes.
I did not know that.
That's exactly what happened. Elon Musk is talking his book. Elon Musk grew up in a country where white people were being outpopulated by black people, and there was a clear separation between the two classes. They had a caste system there. And he comes to the United States, and he sees that white people in the United States are being outbred by African Americans and Hispanic people, and they're being outbred by Indonesian people, by the country of Mexico, by all these other places where it's happening. And he's like, the way the demographics look is that eventually in the next 30, 40 years, white people will be less than 50% of the population of the United States. And he finds that to be frightening. I don't know how he's expressing it, but it's demographic collapse. It's not population collapse. There will still be 9 billion people before the end of the next century. It's not.
I see what you're saying.
The point is, I wish he would just say that, because to me, this idea that like if half the United States population isn't white, I don't think that's the end of the United States. I really don't have an issue with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think that stuff matters at all. When I'm talking about this,
to some people it does.
I'm talking about population decline in like a homogenous country like Japan.
Yeah.
Because they're all Japanese for the most part. Yeah. It's not like the same thing here. I'm mixed race myself.
Yeah, but it's not going to go to zero. I mean, if you still have 20 million people in Japan.
No, it's not going to go to zero. It just will make it harder for them to like. We're already having this problem right now with our Social Security and Medicare system. We're not creating enough children.
Oh, there's not enough children to
be able to pay for the dependents. And the problem
is the collapse problem.
This is the problem. And then once they can't like keep their economy going and they can't support and they're just living longer and longer. They live a lot in Japan. They live like a really long lifespan, and these motherfuckers don't die, and then they're not making kids to take care of them because people want to fuck sex robots. So at what point is this going to become a major problem? I don't have a problem with race mixing. I'm half Persian. I'm half black. My girlfriend out there is Mexican. I don't even know what our kid's going to look like. I'm happy with it.
They're going to look like Jesus.
Hey, I'll be happy for it.
They're going to look like Jesus. That's what they're going to look like.
I think race mixing is great. Now, people like Nick Fuentes think it's degenerate. That's whatever they think. That's fine.
That's the only thing that I'm actually not going to be able to argue with him on, because that's his opinion. That one's fine.
I have no problem with his opinion. I just don't agree with it.
I think it's absurd, but that's his opinion.
Yeah, it's not about factual or non-factual. It's just that's what you think, and I think you're dumb for thinking that. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it actually is dumb, because if you look at a lot of things, I think that some of the best people are the mixes. Like that's where like
we're going anecdotal. We're going anecdotal.
Just take it to its logical conclusion. What happens when you inbreed with the same people too much?
Yeah, of course.
You get taste-sax disease. That's what you get.
So here's the issue. I would say, if I was going to talk to Nick Fuentes, is like, you do understand. Like, I would ask him like simple questions. Do you believe that African Americans are like closer to primates? Do you believe that? He'd be like, no, okay, because I want to get him. I need to get him on the record saying some of this shit. And then at the end, I'd be like, do you understand that Homo sapiens have the same 23 alleles? It doesn't make any difference what there's different ethnicities. There's only one race.
All right, Michael.
Homo sapiens.
Don't give out too much, because I do want to see you nail this guy.
Yeah.
So maybe watch.
That's what I want to do.
I don't want him to research just ahead of time.
I just want to say, like if I were to map the genome of an African American, if I were to map the genome of an Anglo American, do you understand that in a vacuum you can't tell the difference? You can't. Do you know that, or do you not know that? And I just want to pin him down on a couple things.
Well, what bothers me is like the race thing. If he takes a 23andMe test or whatever the fuck, like he's not all one thing.
Of course not.
That's what makes no fucking sense.
Yeah,
to
By
me
the way,
about it.
by the way,
How can you become like something that you're
he's-
not?
He's racist to the point where he doesn't think Irish and Italian people should have babies. And you know,
that has to be clear.
yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. No, I mean,
That was
it's
100 years ago.
It's
He lives
absurd.
back in time.
And hey, ready? You want to make some real people mad? Adolf Hitler's grandparent was Jewish. How about that? We keep forgetting about that one. You remember the Aryan guy, Adolf Hitler, who had brown hair? He didn't have blue eyes and blonde hair. Do you guys remember that shit? Whoops. Who wasn't even fucking German? He was Austrian. Oops. I mean,
it's very normal for these people to be like that.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. The thing is though, like I want to get him on logic. If he truly believes that he just decides that's the thing, I'm like, well, that's a bit bigoted, but that's my opinion, and you have your own opinion.
Here's the thing with him. Just keep in mind, he's, 24 or something? I believe a lot of dumb shit, too, when I was younger. Like, hopefully this guy just kind of grows out of it and realizes it was just a bunch of crap and trolling.
I'm going to propose a theory. I actually think, what if he's actually either sponsored by or he himself is actually a liberal? And he has created...
I was thinking about that to make us look bad.
He has basically made, if liberals were to create a cartoon character of what a racist white incel were to be, he's literally the manifestation of that. And the guy that they chose is such a narcissist that he was willing to take on that persona in order to discredit the right.
That is so crazy.
Like
I'm really good
he checks
psyop
all
if
the
that's
box.
true.
He
really does.
I'm going to bring up that theory to him, and then I'm sure he's going to laugh at it. But like, have you guys ever considered that maybe he's literally here to look like as a plant to poison the right side of the politics? Because it's very difficult for me, being someone who's politically conservative, to have to deal with flat earthers and Holocaust deniers. Like, you're poisoning my party. You're ruining the actual Socratic debate is not possible when I'm dealing with people who believe in their feelings more than reality. Which, by the way, that's what flat earthers and Holocaust deniers are. They believe in feelings more than reality.
It's true.
And so yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to propose that as a theory when if I get to debate it.
Best of luck in fighting this troll.
Hey y'all, Sergio here. I just want to mention I've created a completely free guide that shows you exactly how I went from having low confidence and being painfully awkward around women to easily meeting and dating numerous high quality desirable women in real life without the use of any dating apps or social media. So if you're struggling to get out there, if you have approach anxiety or don't know what to say or how to interact with women to make them want you, and are sick of using dating apps with low value girls that hundreds of other guys have been chatting with, click the link in the description below to grab your free guide right now. And if you want private mentorship with me personally to help guide you every step of the way in this process, check out my mentorship program in the description too. I would be happy to help you reach your dating goals and overcome any obstacle you may face. And trust me, if I can do it, you can do it too. I hope to see you soon. Peace out.